Let's talk about it. Now, in the hours and days since it became clear that Donald Trump would be re-elected president of the United States, there's been a surge of interest in the U.S. for 4B. Young liberal women across TikTok and Instagram are discussing and sharing information about the South Korean feminist movement, in which straight women refuse to marry, have children, date, or have sex with men. These women say they are enraged and fed up after a majority of their male counterparts voted for a candidate who was once found liable for sexual abuse and whose appointment of the 3 conservative Supreme Court justices led to the overturning of national abortion rights and protections. In response, they say they're swearing off men and they're encouraging others around the country to join them. Okay. We pandered and begged for men's safety and done all the things that we were supposed to, and they still hate us, Ashley Pollard, a 36-year-old in St. Louis, told CNN. So if you're going to hate us, then we're going to do what we want. What is the 4B movement, a lot of us are asking, right? Now, the 4B movement, I'm just, okay. The 4B movement emerged in South Korea around 2015 or 2016. Sorry for my poor pronunciation. Ju Hui Judy Han, an assistant professor in gender studies at the University of California. Mostly popular among young women in their 20s, she described it as a fringe offshoot of Me Too and other feminist movements that arose in response to stark gender inequality in the country. In 2016, a woman was brutally killed near Seoul subway station. The perpetrator reportedly said he unalived her because he felt ignored by women. Wow, that's sick. The incident prompted a national reckoning around how women are treated in the country, expanding to include conversations around femicide, revenge porn, and digital X crimes. Feminism and the gender divide have been hot button issues in South Korea. Women in the country are paid about 1/3 less than men, according to data from the Orange Nation for Economic Cooperation and Development. The 4B movement was decentralized and exited in various iterations online and offline, making it difficult to access its true size and scale. Over the years, the movement has diminished and splintered over disagreements about the role of queer and trans women, according to Han. But she says 4B and other South Korean feminist movements drew attention to gender inequality in the country and emphasized collective action. Oh, wow. Okay. When there is such widespread violence against women, there is such a systemic discrimination and inequality. When there's so much that make marriage, childbirth, and child rearing difficult, why and how can anyone imagine getting married and giving birth? Though South Korea's 4B movement mostly faded from media headlines in recent years, the U.S. election has renewed its interest. A lot of us, straight or not, queer or not, whether you're in a marriage or not, are going to be in the same boat, dealing with an oppressive and violent institution, Han says, and we see each other. Wow. Okay. It's far too early to tell whether the 4B movement might seriously catch on in the U.S., but so far at least, it's generated a lot of online discussion among young women. Some women are discovering the movement anew and are vowing to join. Others who are already married or partnered up say they plan to protest in other ways, such as boycotting male-owned businesses or refusing to do emotional labor for men. Let me make sure I read that right. Others who are already married or partnered up say they plan to protest in other ways, such as boycotting male-owned. I'm so lost here. They really just. I want to make sure I don't sound inconsiderate, but just boycotting the whole male at like any male-owned business aren't majority of businesses owned by. Polar says she learned about South Korea's 4B movement a few years ago, inspiring her to examine what a life looks like without centering men so deeply. Since 2022, she says she hasn't dated or slept with men and has realized that she's better off on her own. She has the resources to support herself without marriage, and she plans to have a child alone. Now let's hear let's hear from some other people because
The 4B movement.
maybe
So what is it? Actually, a fringe feminist campaign from South Korea. The 4Bs, Korean for four no's, no marrying men, no giving birth, no dating men, and no sex with men.
There's so much pressure in South Korea for women to have kids, and women felt extremely undervalued. So they have sort of banded together to not kind of give into these societal pressures.
South Korea has the world's lowest fertility rate. Now, Google searches for 4B surging to record levels in the U.S. as one of its top trending searches in the last 48 hours.
Audio
I've been
Slim
waiting
was
for
good,
everybody
big
else
bro.
to catch up to speed for a while.
Alexa Vargas says she stopped dating
My
men
phone,
2
I'm getting
years
this
ago.
clip
They
right
like
now.
to keep us around for sexual pleasure, and they like to get married and have kids to have this family man sort of image, but really a lot of men don't value us.
Her TikTok post this week about 4B reaching more than 100,000 views.
I got hundreds and hundreds of comments on my TikTok talking about how women are wanting to participate in this movement now because of the results of this election, because women don't feel safe in this country.
Adding fuel to the fire, posts from Trump-supporting provocateurs with large male audiences, like white nationalist Nick Fuentes saying, "Your body, my choice, forever." And
That is kind of crazy for him to say, your body, my choice.
Described
That's sick.
misogynist influencer Andrew Tate facing rape and sex trafficking charges in Romania, which he denies, responding to the 4B movement saying, now you don't even need abortions. Trump's Supreme Court picks helped overturn Roe v. Wade, unleashing a wave of protests nationwide. His position on abortion access has varied, but during the final stages of his campaign, saying states should decide.
Whether the women like it or not, I'm going to protect them.
The Trump campaign did not respond to a request for comment on the 4B movement. As tensions build,
And you guys think it's just internet trolls? This is a problem.
a battle bursting onto our feeds and into America's culture wars.
Emily is joining us now. And Emily, this movement obviously was already out there. You talked about its origins in South Korea here, but talk about the sort of next piece of it, where it might go in the U.S.
Yeah, Hal, you bring up a good point. There isn't anything new about swearing off men to make some kind of statement. And in fact, you can even look back to ancient Greek plays like Lysistrata, where women swore off sex to make a statement to protest war. And there's more recent examples as well. There's the trend of going boy sober and more people turning away from dating apps. Look, experts say, do they think that we're suddenly going to see women in droves swearing off, writing off men? No, but what we are seeing is these movements, they are finding these large communities online, and they're raising questions and concerns about reproductive freedom. They're putting that at the top of mind, gender equality, and in many ways, Hallie, that is the goal for a lot of.
Not to interrupt her, but I was just reading. It says one of the most common ways for adherents to signal their commitment is to share social media posts with 4B related hashtags such as investment tips for women, financial independence, and photographs showcasing happily unmarried lives. Some cities, Daejeon and Gwangju, among them, also have 4B themed offline communities where followers can socialize through sports book clubs. Some feminist scholars and activists in South Korea have criticized these lifestyle-oriented aspects of the 4B movement, arguing that individual acts of opting out ultimately do little to meaningfully advance women's sex and reproductive rights in society at large. At the center of young women's commitment to 4B is the desire to focus on themselves, feminist scholar Cho Ju Hyun wrote in 2020. Again, sorry for my mispronunciation. The logical endpoint of that is becoming a successful individual in neoliberal society. Like, yo.
These women. By the way, you can find a deeper dive into this on our website, NBCnews.com. Our digital team working on that.
Thanks for.
So what do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments, man. Oh, man, that's definitely an interesting situation. To boycott all male businesses? To boycott all male businesses is wild. Because, again, aren't a lot of, come on now, yo. What do y'all think, though? Let me know in the comments.